It's the A to Z podcast. Some Fridays are gooder than other edition. I'm Zach Jackson. He's Andre Knott. A to Z podcast.com, facebook.com/A to Z podcast. Shout outs, as always, to the Honeymoon Grill, to Scene Magazine, to American Fireworks for helping to make this thing happen, and to you guys for helping it grow, for coming back, for asking us to get together and do a podcast. Andre, there's no Indians game tonight, so your itinerary has changed. I can't see you. I anticipate that you're smiling. The weather's crappy. Nobody wants to play baseball or sit through baseball in this. So you never know in April, and they have to make the right decision, at least from your standpoint, but it affects thousands of other people, is to call it early, right? You move along. You don't open anything up. Absolutely. You don't put anybody at risk, and you go.
Absolutely. This is one of the best decisions the Indians have made all year. Enjoy it, Cleveland. That's a joke. Everybody get over themselves. I got to say this before we get going. Yes, I love the decision. Yes, I'm dancing. Yes, I have sweatpants on. I'm showered, cleaned up. I feel like I'm back in high school. And, I actually put sweatpants on. I was like, and my wife was like, that's really what you're going to wear the rest of the day? I go, I ain't got nowhere to go. Hell yeah. But I can't believe the prince of paragraphs used the word gooder on a podcast, considering how much he cries about how people talk on Twitter and other places. To use such language like that, Zach, I can't believe that you would use grammar of that nature, sir. What has gotten into you on this Good Friday?
Clearly that basketball academy you went to high school, they didn't teach sarcasm, so whatever. I'm just messing around here.
We keep it real on here, and Dre don't lie. It was a football academy when I went there. That's true, too. That's a true statement. I am. You know what? We're gonna start. I'm gonna take a little control today.
Okay.
Since sarcasm wants to run everything, we're gonna do our baseball minute early. And often, as I pull into a parking lot that has a Panera and a Starbucks, this white woman heaven right here for them. Baseball talk quickly. Number one, I absolutely. It's obvious. I love the game of baseball. You have to do the job that I do. I went to a minor league game yesterday down in Akron. I had a phenomenal time at the Rubber Ducks game. It was because of my daughter. Her school had one of those community outreach things where the tickets were really cheap, and all her classmates were going. It was the last thing in the world I wanted to do when my wife first brought it up to me, but I'm so glad I did. Had a great time down there. I'm not doing a commercial for them, but for the people that complain about ticket prices and times and getting to Cleveland or whatever else, if you live south of Cleveland, go to an Akron Rubber Ducks game. Or if you live down in Columbus, go to a Columbus Clippers game. For a person that does 160, 170 major league games a year, there is and if you have kids, there is a quality to going to those minor league games. There's an enjoyment. They keep you entertained. There was dollar beers yesterday that kept me entertained.
Thursday, the oldest trick in minor league baseball.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Look, you even know it. It tells you how sad he is. But I'm just being in all honesty, and I'm not trying to be nerdy about it, but it was fun to be at a minor league ballpark. It takes you back to what it really is all about. And I'm glad I did it. Kids had a good time. I had a good time. It was nice to be around the neighbors. There were only a few weirdos that came up and said weird stuff to me. It was good. And I for the people that complain and if they hate the Dolans or hate this person or whatever, if you just genuinely like baseball and we want our kids involved, go down to a minor league game. It's a good way to remember the spirit of the game and what it is and what it's worth, and it's fun. The other thing is, and I like asking novices like you, Tim Anderson. It's amazing, and I get it, and I'm not attacking media yet. I don't have to. They usually just make dummies of themselves, but. It's amazing that Tim Anderson – it's amazing that a Kansas City – I almost said Chiefs. That tells you how much of a baseball guy I am. A Royals-White Sox game, nobody in America talks about it normally, no matter how great it's pitched, no matter how many great plays are made. But Tim Anderson, who many don't know, but I really like, young kid out of the Memphis area, Mobile, Alabama area, playing shortstop for the White Sox. He's one of the kids that they're basing their team around. They gave him a long-term contract last year. Really good athlete, was a really good basketball player, chose baseball, and it's been congrats to him, not congrats, because he's figured it out. He's still not a complete ball player, but he's the heartbeat of their team. It's a big home run a couple days ago, flips the bat back at his dugout. There was already a running history between him and the Royals. And Maldonado, their catcher, is a catcher that doesn't get along with Frankie Lindor, which is a whole nother story. And most people have seen the brouhaha that came from that. And I went at Rick Manning the other day, and I was like, man, all these stupid unwritten rules, at some point in time, we got to check ourselves about these unwritten rules. Did it come off a little arrogant, a little cocky that Tim Anderson hit the home run and flipped the bat back in front of the catcher? Yes. But if you know Maldonado's history, you know that he talks shit to batters. He goes back and forth with hitters. After the pitcher hits Anderson the next time up, to me, it should be done, right? Like you don't need anybody coming out of like I just feel like the unwritten rules are so stupid to this point. Okay, you don't like that I hit a long home run? Don't let me hit the home run. It's just like the guy that's dancing in the end zone. It's just like the guy that dances after a sack. You know when they don't do that shit? When you shut them down. I think baseball's selling, and the only reason I'm saying this, baseball, and I'm going to do this because I like baseball, and I'm going to make it for something that I do on this podcast. I'm going to find a story a week to talk about baseball-wise, and it doesn't have to be Tim Anderson flipping a bat. It doesn't have to be fights, because baseball is a good sport, and it is fun, and it is entertaining. A little bit long sometimes, a little bit boring at times. I get it, but there's good stuff that's going on in there. But MLB, they're selling, let the kids have fun. Well, if you're selling, let the kids have fun, maybe we should make it like hockey and let them swing a couple times and suspend them for a game. But everybody's got to play along to let the kids have fun. You've told Tim Anderson, let the kids have fun. They're wearing chains in the dugout. I think it looks ridiculous. I think it's stupid. I think they should try to win 82 games before they start wearing the chains. But that's just me. They're selling, let the kids have fun. MLB, you got to find a way to let the kids have fun, because the whole turnover chain, terrible idea. Dustin Fox, I saw when you tried that shit too. I got the picture saved in my pictures. When you least expected, I'm sending that shit out. Love you. Oh, man, I feel good.
Like, well, there was a lot right there.
Tomorrow. I got a brand new cup of Starbucks. I'm cleanly shaved. I'm in sweatpants. I'm in heaven. Let's go, motherfucker.
Well, there was a lot right there, and it's funny you started with that, because when you said I want to talk baseball for a minute, I was going to say, well, for once I want to talk baseball for more than a minute, because I want to ask you about this Tim Anderson thing. So, it's one of those arguments, generally it's kind of the baseball equivalent of Johnny Manziel, right? When everybody but under 23 defended him and everybody over was like, get him out of here, and the old people were right. I don't know that the old people are right or wrong here, but let me start with this. Like, there are bat flips, and then that wasn't like a bat flip. That was like a javelin, a pose, look at me, take a selfie, post it on your Instagram story, flip it, talk shit, and then jog to first base, correct?
Correct. All correct. I can't disagree with any of that.
Okay, so, whether or not that makes it any different, I don't know that answer. It certainly is something that created some interest in baseball. I think if you're on the one side, it's easy to say, hey, like, this is guys having fun. This is guys bringing energy. This is bringing eyeballs to what's by nature a slow-moving game. Let's do it. We know what happened later. The unwritten rule says you got to throw at him, right? He ends up getting suspended. Apparently, in the statement, he was suspended as much for what he said during the tussle, and egging it on.
But I call bullshit. I call bullshit on that. Like, language in games, it's like it's adults. As my dad once told me 20 plus years ago now, it's called dugout talk. It'd be different. It's different to me. Like when Westbrook, remember Westbrook got fined a couple of weeks back because he basically said he killed a dude and told him to blow him or whatever else. Yeah. And people could hear it. If nobody can hear what you're saying, why are you suspending them for their language? You know what? Like, that's that bothered me a little bit. Like, if people can't hear it on TV and people in the stands can't really hear what's being said, who's it offending? Yeah, no, I can't argue with that part of it. I would say this, I'm not for throwing at people, and I'm not. Before you say you're a nerd and you never played the game, I did play. I just wasn't very good. Okay, and I understand pitchers have to throw inside. They have to be in control, and sometimes you have to make a statement for your competitive reasons. But when you can throw 95 miles an hour and guide it as well as these major leaguers can, that's very dangerous. I'm not for that. And the thing, I'm not for hitting people. Let me say something real quick. I'm not for hitting people either. But there is something about throwing inside, and you should be able to throw inside, and people don't let guys throw inside anymore, and that's bullshit. You don't have to hit guys to make your point.
Right. Well, but with the fighting, Dre, like, yes, it makes SportsCenter. It makes the Twitter highlights now, which is way more important than SportsCenter. But these guys' hands and fingers are worth millions of dollars, and they can't have them out here swinging wildly. Baseball fights to the guys sitting at home are cool because it comes out of nowhere generally, and you got guys flying in from every angle of the dugout, sometimes with weapons, sometimes with not, right? Varying fits of rage. More Major League Baseball players than not are normal-sized guys, but obviously most of them are freakishly strong. You get some of the real big ones in there. You get guys hitting from behind. I mean, it's dangerous as shit in there is what I'm saying. So I'm not sure that's the answer either, is to let them throw down.
No, well, and I was playing around a little bit. Now. You're right. You're right. All I'm saying, I was thinking about the hockey fight that we just saw with the old dude and the young kid, and he just annihilated him. And what 19-year-old is stupid enough to go at Ovechkin like that? But that's a whole other scenario. Shout out to the Columbus Blue Jackets. I'm not going to be fake like everybody else and act like I actually know who they are. But they're a team in Ohio and they won something. I'm not going to be fake like all these other fakers and go buy a T-shirt and rock the canyon or whatever the hell they do. But congrats to them. I hope they can continue winning, and I hope they go all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals, and I hope they bring Grant Fuhrer out to be the black goalie, even though I know the Bob's doing really good. Only certain people will laugh at certain parts of that. There's only reasons why they will. Baseball is at a funny part because I was just interviewing Brad Simber. You know who that is, Zach? Any idea?
I've heard of him, yeah.
All right, he's one of the relief pitchers for the Indians. And he came into a big moment in the Seattle series against Mitch Haniger. And if I would have really did my research and been on top of shit, and I'm admitting I totally wasn't. I knew some, but I didn't know it all. But he and Mitch Haniger had grown up together, played together, and were teammates on the summer league team. And playing in Seattle was a home game for Simber. So Simber gets called in, 2 outs, bases loaded, games on the line. And guess who's up? Fucking Mitch Haniger, who's one of the best hitters in baseball that most people don't know, but he's up and coming. He's becoming a star. He's a star of the Mariners. And to be honest, when they brought in Simber, a lot of us probably held our breath and said, all right, this is how we're going to lose this game. Well, Simber goes out and has an epic matchup with him, goes back. See, this goes back to my point of talking baseball and good moments in baseball. And this was exciting, but most people, because most were asleep back at home, or most just don't have the patience to go through it. And I get it. I'm not calling people out. I get not having the patience to watch a 3-hour game on April 14th. That starts at 10 p.m. I completely understand that. I'm not going to fight people on that. But a really great sports moment happened in that game when Simber and Mitch Haniger are going against each other. And they get a 3-2 count, and Haniger fouls off pitch after pitch after pitch after pitch. And finally, Simber gets him out. Well, Simber said to me, he goes, I wanted to celebrate. I wanted to yell and scream. And he goes, and I did a little bit. And then I thought about it and said, oh, shit. You know, Mitch is my old teammate. I don't want to piss him off, and I know I'm going to face him again, and I don't want his ass dancing on me when he goes around the bases. To me, Simber being honest to me in that moment, saying, man, I wanted to celebrate, and I wanted to spike something and yell, fuck yeah, but then I realized I got to be careful. I'm going to face him again. Also, that's a really good friend of mine. I don't want to show him up. I think he's caught in the middle, and I said to him, I go, to hell with it. Isn't the whole thing about baseball right now? Let the kids have fun. I was like, enjoy that moment. Because I go, if Mitch Haniger drills one off your ass, I go, you best believe they're going to be riling it up and they're going to be having fun because that's what people do now. When you do good things, we celebrate them, right?
No doubt. Here was my question about this whole thing because you're around these guys. I don't know these guys. You got a pretty stark divide. Most of the players on the team are 25 years old, right? Tito's much older.
Yeah.
I know where Tom Hamilton, the ultimate get off my lawn guy of all time, stands. But like, just when this comes up in casual discussion, when you're in the clubhouse or on the bus or whatever, like do batters think they should bat flip and pitchers think they should dive for bat flipping? Like, do the older guys think differently than the other? What's your vibe on that?
Yeah. I remember Jan Gomes and I had to talk about – it's funny because every position – you say hitters, pitchers, and you're right. It does kind of go down that line, but also catchers too. I remember last year Jan Gomes was pissed about how – he wasn't pissed, but we were watching something on the bus, and I happened to be near him, and he's like, Dre, what do you think? And I was just like, oh, shit. Because Jan never wanted to get along with me. We were always just different ways on stuff. And it was when somebody ran into a catcher or something else, and I was like, well, catcher should get the fuck out of the way. And I remember thinking he's going to want to fight me for saying that. He laughed. He goes, yeah, sure. He goes, but so I would say I think it's more a generational thing. Like Jake Bowers is 23 years old, and he has gone out of. I'm not gonna say he's gone out of his way to cuss. In the 2 times I've talked to him post game live on air, but he obviously doesn't give a shit. But I love it, and I've told him, I'm like, be yourself. And then like the other day, he's like, yeah, my girl, or somebody, his mom or somebody said, hey, why would you say ass on live TV? And he was like, well, that's just how I talk to Dre. I think a lot of the younger guys, they see it as enjoy yourselves. I think a lot of these kids have grown up. I'd say pitchers too, though, Zach. You know what I mean? I think a lot of these kids, they can strike a guy out, and they've seen, they've seen the pitchers that yell and scream when they come up the mound. Hell, every time Bauer gets a big strikeout to close an inning out in a big moment, and he screams into his glove or lets loose with some emotion, we put that shit right on TV. Like, that's the shot we want. Our directing, right. Like, that is the money shot. No pun intended, but that's the money shot when we get emotion from a player. So we all want the emotion, and it's funny because most of the players, like, trust me, and I hate making this a racial thing, but like the island guys, they all have dances and things they want to do, but so do the white guys. I think everybody does. But everyone is on that line of looking over their shoulder of, did I go too far? Does that make sense? No guy, for the most part, wants to go too far. The reason Tim Anderson's situation has become a situation is because, and I give him, and I don't agree completely with him, but I respect, and if you guys listen to our podcast, you know this, I respect people that stand up for who they are and what they are and don't make any bones about it. And Tim Anderson basically said, people come to these games, spend a lot of money to be entertained. We work really hard at this profession. When I get a moment to enjoy a moment, when if something finally is coming through, I want to entertain people, and I want to enjoy that moment with my teammates, and that's what I was doing. I'm paraphrasing what Tim Anderson said, but I think that speaks well for most of the younger generation of players. They are there, and I've hopefully, knock on wood, we've recorded some stuff. Bauer, myself, and Clevenger have recorded some stuff. Because of Clevenger's injury, and we'll have some news on that, we don't know how we're going to put out some of the Trev and Club stuff that we've already done. But this was one of the conversations that we've had. And I'm sitting with 2 pitchers who are big league starting pitchers or damn near all-stars. And to them, it doesn't bother them that much until you go too far. And I keep saying to them, well, what is too far? You know, like to them, it's like, all right, you can flip the bat, but don't yell. Or you can yell, but don't flip the bat. And I told both of them, I'm like, well, that's bullshit rules. Like, you can't tell me how to celebrate. You can't say you can half-ass celebrate. If I want to celebrate, I should get to celebrate. And I think that's the issue right now, I think, for all these players. I think they all, for the most part, the hard, nasty, Kurt Schilling type, Randy Johnson type, there aren't many of those guys left. You know, like, there's not many of those types left. For the most part, I think most players are okay with some celebration, but no one has drawn the line. Does that make sense?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, you know, not only what really is the line, but what needs to be the line. I mean, this is a competitive game, right? It's supposed to be an emotional game. Baseball, probably more than the other sports, gets into things that are easily and sometimes lazily deemed ancient, right? But things that fall into those unwritten rule categories and those play with class and all that. Shut up and tuck your shirt in and run off the field type things, right? And there are people.
Don't wear your hat backwards.
Right. And it doesn't have to be that. Now, in the bigger picture, is that why baseball people feel like, or baseball feels like, it has a problem connecting to the young people? I don't know, and I think we could talk about it till we're blue in the face. I think, it probably matters much. Like, have you ever talked to Tito about the bat flip thing? Because he sees it from the dugout. He's not taking a pitcher's side, a catcher's side, or whatever's side. What does he think?
Tito will be. I think Tito doesn't care. Tito's thing is always his number one rule to his team, and I think this is how we feel about this: is respect the fucking game. Respect, like I hear him, respect your teammates. And his thing, and he's very childish. It's very elementary to say, but I think he would simply. And I'm going to ask him. Not you say. I'm going to ask him when it's just him and I, and I'll come back and tell you exactly what he says.
Yeah. Okay.
Even if it's got some fucks in it and everything else. And it will. I'm going to tell a quick Tito story here in a second too, and then we can go into everything else. Tito would simply say, "Don't disrespect my team. If you're respecting it and you're enjoying it, because like we've gone through this with Frankie." There are some people, there are some purists, and I'll say the statement of statements. One of the biggest problems that Major League Baseball has with the slogan of "Let the kids play" is you don't have kids in the booth. You got a lot of old, you got a lot of old, testy white men up in the booth that don't give a shit about "Let the kids play," and they still rely on the rules they grew up on 45, 50 years ago. And that's no offense to anybody I work with, no offense to any of the guys on the other teams, but it's true.
It's facts.
You don't have young guys. That is a fact. The guys that do the game and speak for the game when it's happening,
they're old.
They don't understand how they're old, and they think differently than the kids that are playing. So I would say Tito is with that, but I think because Tito's so close to these players and sees and hears the music they listen to and sees how they dance and sees the bullshit that they're looking at on their phones, I think he shrugs his shoulders and is just like, don't disrespect my team. And I think and that's life, right? I mean, don't disrespect me in any place. Like, I just went through an ordeal today. A guy in a parking lot jumped out and gave me the finger, and because I didn't see him in the parking lot, and I was driving 5 miles an hour, and I hit the brakes. He gave me the finger. I rolled the window down. I was like, what? And I would have said something else, but my son was in the car. And I was like, dude, why don't you watch where you're walking rather than giving somebody the finger? And then when he went to say, fuck you, I was like, man, my kid is in the car. I'll get out and kick your ass. And then AJ goes, oh, Dad, I'm telling Mom. And I'm like, let me kick this guy's ass first, AJ. and he went and told his mom. I think the line of disrespect is one of those that we all kind of go through. How far is too far? You know, like, I shouldn't have reacted the way I did, especially with my kid in the car. But in my childish Andre way, I felt disrespected. So I think that's the main thing. Here's a quick Tito story. So it was Jackie Robinson Day on Monday. And one of my favorite people in baseball, play-by-play guy for the Seattle Mariners, Dave Sims, not because he's black.
He went to Bethany College, by the way.
Did he really?
Yeah, he sure did.
Oh, my – that is awesome. He did play-by-play in NFL, does Seattle Mariners games, from New York, went to Bethany. I got something else to talk to him about. Went through prostate cancer a couple of years ago. And I like him because he's always been real to me. He's always talked to me as a man, never talked down to me, always given advice. And in our business, every guy's like that, to be honest with you. So anytime you get a peer that actually gives a shit and wants you to be better and wants you to be successful, you appreciate them. So it's Jackie Robinson Day, and Tito's birthday is on Monday. I think he turned 60. Nobody thought that would ever happen.
Yeah, I had the under.
Yeah, everybody. And that'll be the joke he says, too, when it comes up. So Jackie Robinson Day comes up, and I had already did something with him about it. And the one thing I'll give Tito, man, is he is not racist in any way, shape, or form, and he hates anybody that is. He made comments on Monday basically saying whoever came up with one person's better than the other because of their color, they were a fucking dumbass. And then he realized he said that in front of everybody. He goes, well, even if it was whoever it was that came up with it, they're a dumbass. Who could think because you're darker? But it was a money quote. And I'm looking at him I'm like, that's the best thing you got to say? He goes, well, I'm not trying. He goes, I'm no fucking writer. He goes, racism's fucking stupid. And he was like, he goes, seriously, think about it. And I was like, Tito, I lived it. I go, I live it. I know. And then he chuckled. So then Dave Sims walks in, and Dave Sims knows Tito he used to do national games and everything else. And so Tito says this as eloquently as Tito can say something. Not very. And everybody in the room is kind of like, okay, I guess we're done. And Dave Sims walks in, and Dave sees me, and Dave sees me, shakes my hand, and Tito goes, now, all right, I said that about Jackie Robinson Day and all that other shit. He goes, but that doesn't go for fucking reporters. Some of these fucking reporters got no business having a fucking job like Andre. I don't care that he's black. He sucks. And these guys in Seattle have no idea how to take this. And Dave Sims is on the ground dying. He's like, how can you talk so well about racism and then kill Andre like that? And he goes, you see the shit Andre says about me? Only Tito, though. Only Tito. So Dave Sims texted me later on. He's like, you and Tito all right? I was like, yeah, we're fine. Don't worry.
All right, so one baseball observation and one more question. So one day I saw you interviewing Jake Bauers, and I was like, he looks like a St. Ed's player more than a major league player. Like, he looks like he's 16 years. Maybe really I'm just old, but I was like, holy shit.
He's 23. He's 23. He's 23 and young. You're right.
Yeah, and then here's my other question. So I listen a lot more than I watch. And, you know, I'm driving a lot, or I'm in here, I'm supposed to be writing, I'm really doing something else. I got it on. And Hammy starts every broadcast from, we know the signature call when it's at home. It's really, I enjoy it as a journalism dork on the road when he describes in detail each park. Like, it's amazing. You know, it's old school radio. Oh, yeah. It's what makes him so good. But he always gives the game number to start the broadcast. and he game number 12 from Comerica Park, and I always think about it, and I wonder how much Andre is really paying it, because I mean, it's not like it's going to make it any better or any worse, and you obviously love your job, but 162 of fucking anything is a whole lot.
You ain't lying, buddy.
And I think about it every time he says that. Game 32 from Target Field, and I think, oh, we got a long way to go.
See, God bless Hammy, because I don't even try to look in those terms. You know, and I know, and like you said, the way he does it, the reason he does it is beautiful. Because it's like you said, it's the part I remember hearing that riding in the car with my grandfather growing up, listening to her, do the games. I literally try not to even get caught up in that. I try to, I know the schedule almost off the top of my head. I try not to get caught, and now I know why, and I've learned this from Tito. I literally barely know the date. I barely know the day. I barely know what city I'm in. I literally was laying in bed Saturday night. Hadn't gone out because we had I was fried, just beat, and literally with the lights out, I heard a noise down the hallway. I opened my eyes and I literally thought to myself, I have no idea where the fuck I'm at. I was like,
oh, I've been there.
I'm not in Detroit. I don't think. I don't smell weed, so I'm not in Seattle. It took me literally 5 minutes laying in the bed, where the hell am I at right now? That's baseball is different, man. It's not for everybody. But it is a beautiful game. And I think this 9-game road trip shows it. They go 2 or 3 in Detroit, and you're like, oh shit, we're going to see Kansas City. They can't win to save their lives. You get swept there. Feels like, and Matt Underwood has told me this from the beginning of starting this job. It's never as good as everybody thinks it is.
Well, right.
It's never as bad as everybody makes it out. And it's true. After they lost 3 in a row in Kansas City, we got on the plane, man, and it was just like, oh, fuck. We got 5 more months of this? What the hell are we going to do? Especially the way they lost. Then you go to Seattle, and they got, the hottest offense of all time, and they're breaking records left and right, and you go sweep them. There's no rhyme or reason.
Yeah, that's baseball.
And we get on the plane to have that, right, and we get on the plane coming home from Seattle, and I think because of what happened in Kansas City, it was the most subdued sweep I've seen the team have in 5 years. You're everybody kind of got on the plane was like, thank God. It's we got this long-ass flight. Thank God we didn't get swept and have a long-ass flight and have to come across. It was real nice to be the other way around. Yeah. There's no rhyme or reason, though, for it. Baseball, it's just different. It's how it works.
Well, tell me this is fair or not. In the first month, give or take, wins and losses really don't matter, right? Obviously, they all end up counting in the 162, but it's much more into getting in a rhythm and how you play and the circumstances you deal with. That being said, everybody needs to see Kluber have a better start tomorrow. Is all that fair, what I just said?
The Kluber part, yeah. Yeah. The basic thing in baseball in the month of April, and I know this is hard for fans to take, is just don't lose 20 fucking games.
Right.
Keep your head above water. Stay around 500. Start finding out who you are as a team. Figure out your bullpen. Figure out the guys you can rely on. Yeah, that's the main thing. The Kluber thing is a conundrum for me right now, because it's just all right. Cookie had a great start on whatever day it is, Wednesday, and God knows he needed it. He was more of a concern that, but still his next start out, I'm still concerned. Kluber can be good tomorrow, and I get what you're saying, but Kluber, the thing that's been great about Kluber, and I said this on a radio show a couple days ago, he's a lot like LeBron in that he's been so damn consistent and so damn good for so many years in a row that when he has a normal game or has a normal hiccup, we all, me included, is he fucking hurt? Is he done? It's hard for us to accept him have bad starts. Now, he has done some things this year that he's never done before. He's walked 4 guys with the bases loaded this season. He had never done that coming into this year. Am I concerned about him? I would be a liar to say that I'm not. But at the same time, if he goes out and gives up 9 hits tomorrow, or if he gets 9 strikeouts and gives up 1 hit, I got to find out he's going to be. I got to see 3 or 4 starts in a row of consistency before I go one way or the other. And the same thing with Cookie. For the most part, though, you got to go off of their track record, and the track record says they're going to get in a rhythm and they're going to carry you. But pitchers have this. Starting pitching is so weird, and I think you just got to go off the talent and what you've seen them do. But the Kluber thing is, there's a concern. He gives a lot of wear and tear in that arm. Only him and Max Scherzer are the only guys that have thrown as much as they have in the last 5-6 years. We've never seen no pitcher has gone 6 years in a row, 7 years in a row with the consistency that Kluber is going to try to do. So he's either a freak of nature or reality is going to set in. Hopefully he's a freak of nature.
Right, and I didn't really mean, I guess I was just trying to transition it more than lumping those two together. I mean, I know enough about pro sports in general and about baseball, to say it really doesn't matter. The Indians have warts, no doubt, but they've had like built-in excuses. I mean, those guys they were playing for the first 3 weeks are going pro in something other than sports, like most of them. Soon. Right?
Yes. That was great.
I mean, no offense to anybody, they just are. So
yeah. All right, before we go on, I've read something quickly. You know what Tim Anderson called Brad Keller? Do you know? Did you know before you asked me?
I saw like the blurb, the first graph of a story. I didn't read it in depth.
Supposedly he called him a weak ass fucking NIGGA. Yeah. I'm only laughing because Brad Keller white than a motherfucker. That's why somebody just tweeted me. Major League Baseball trying to figure out what to do when a black guy calls a white guy the N-word. I shouldn't laugh. But has Joe West ever gone to an NBA game? Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on. That'll be our baseball talk until after July 4th. So thanks for coming, you fucking nerds. Right. Anyway,
okay. Let me ask you this, novice Neil. Are you worried about Kluber?
The reason I can't answer that, other than I want to move along, is his last 3 starts I've listened to. I haven't seen a thing, and not that I would know enough anyway. So, I mean, the guy's done it, sure. Have I read some of the numbers just from paging through some of the things that I see when I'm doing my usual nerd reading? Yes, but I couldn't give an answer worth a salt. So why would I even try? I ask you the baseball questions because you're there every day, right?
That was the greatest answer I've ever heard. Too bad Twitter people don't do that. Go ahead, let's go.
Well, that's part of it. Sometimes I'm like, well, why? What qualifies this person to even say that? So how could you get mad, right?
Right. Yeah, okay. Good point. I'm glad you said that. And because Nick Camino called me about something earlier today. I was like, Nick, I don't know why, but I'm having maybe because I know this Indian season is going to be a freaking train, up and down roller coaster. I'm not even getting into how people react to Indians games anymore. But you just said it perfectly. Pay attention to it. Like, I asked you that Kluber question. I asked that same question to the pitching coach of the team, to 2 scouts and Ellis Burks over the last 4 days. All 4 of those guys know way more about Corey Kluber pitching than me. And I can go off, and all their answers were, pretty much what So how can I get upset when some guy sitting in his living room that gets off work from Chipotle and wants to see Corey Kluber strike out 12, and he's pissed off that that's not happening? He freaks out, but he wants to tell me what's wrong with him. It's like a guy's trying to tell me that Lindor was limping on his home run trot in Louisville yesterday. And I'm like, dude, I don't got enough time for that. But, like, if the team says he can play, he can play. Leave me alone.
Yeah, no shit. Speaking of Nick Camino, Nick, we love you. We're happy for your success. Quit fucking tweeting. You are the worst. Thank you. Football questions.
He's correct. Hey, and have Sarah Shookman keep that hair short for us, now that you over at KYC. Love you, Sarah. You're the best. We miss you. And, hey, if you're going to tweet at Zach about our podcast or something that you don't like about me, congrats. You're a jackass. Be a man, show your face, and just tell me what you didn't like. Like, I think that's one of the – I almost used a phrase that people wouldn't take the right way, and I'd get called to the principal's office. I just think that's a cowardly way to tweet or cowardly way to go about something. How many of you freaks do that? Like, if you don't like something I say, like somebody tweeted you and was like, hey, great podcast, Zach. Just didn't like how Andre talked about Tiger. Okay, so what do you think Zach's going to do? You think Zach's going to spank me? You think Zach's my daddy? Zach, like, what do you like? I've had people do that to me, too. It's like, great podcast. Zach annoys me when he laughs at his own jokes. Fucking tell him.
Somebody's got to fucking laugh at him.
Right. But, like, no, I'm just saying in general. You gotta be a man or a woman and just say it to me. But, like, kissing Zach's ass ain't gonna make it any better. I know that we'll play up to you if you got a little money to give us so we can sponsor you the podcast. But have some balls, man, and just say it to me. No, hey, Zach, that was a great podcast. Fuck that black guy. You Brad Keller and me, man. Don't do that. But I'm calling that the rest of the year, by the way. I'm calling that the rest of the year. The schedule came out. There was a party downtown. You should have heard Tom Hamilton when I told him there was a party for the schedule coming out. If I could have recorded that and put it on the podcast, he would have lost his job, but you fuckers would have paid $1 million for hearing how he reacted to that. So what's the big – I read your story immediately. I'm a little freaked out how people get about the schedule, but it's the NFL and everybody goes gung-ho about these types of things, so it shouldn't be surprising. I think when they come off that bye, what is it? Don't they got like Pittsburgh, New England, Denver? Like back
they go 6 and into the bye, and off the bye they go at New England, at Denver, back to back.
Yeah, that's the part that I'm afraid of. And I heard Colin Cowherd, who begs for people to use his name like I'm going to do. But I'm going to agree with something he said. Let's be careful playing a scheduling game, just picking off wins. I know we're happy. I know we're in a good mood. And we should be. And we should be excited. But just blowing off that Tennessee is going to be an easy win. Slow down, boys and girls. Slow down.
give you a little hint about my friends and their line of thinking. As soon as it came out, the very first text I saw in one of my group messages was, Week 1, so many people are going to get knocked out of their survivor pool by the Browns losing to Tennessee. Like, that was this guy's first thought.
Right? Right. I love that person.
But I will say he's the only person in my texts, in my tweets, on my radio, on my computer, anywhere that thinks there's any chance that this could go wrong for the Browns. And that's obviously exaggeration. Look, the schedule release being the holiday, being what it is absurd. But, Jared, this is part of the machine that the NFL has created, right? This is part of their news cycle that extends 360 days a year. This is part of what makes football so special when it's not every day, when it doesn't get lost in the shuffle, and you can start thinking about those fall Sundays and Mondays and Thursdays before you get into summer and get into whatever else. You know, they drive this hype machine. The Browns were in demand by the networks. They're in demand, obviously, by the fans who have stuck it out here. Good for you guys, for people who want to see what happens. They're a hell of a psychology experiment either way, right? Putting all these guys together and seeing how it goes. And they represent, on a very simple yet wide-ranging level, the new kids on the block who are going after the establishment. The establishment is the Steelers. The establishment is the Patriots. You know, them playing the Jets is hot team versus big market, and there's a little personal stuff in there. Them playing the Niners is hot quarterback versus hot quarterback, and we all remember Kyle Shanahan's PowerPoint presentation. That was only 5 years ago. 2 years ago, the Browns did not even get a fucking Thursday night game, and now they got four national prime times, 2 CBS Nance and Romos, and we'll see where it goes from there. And you're right.
The Nance and Romos are just as big as the prime.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. I mean, they got the finale last year, right? Because Baltimore was playing for the division, but the Browns have not had that in ever. I mean, of all the crazy stats about the Browns, the history. Ben Roethlisberger being the winningest quarterback in the stadium, the Pro Bowl, or the snapper being the first draft pick to make the Pro Bowl, all that sad shit. One of the saddest is that Joe Thomas is a first ballot Hall of Famer and played in 5 Monday night games. When they play the Jets on September whatever, it will be the second Monday night game this decade. Think about that.
Wow. This decade. But it makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. It adds up. So when you think about where they've been, how far they've come, you understand more of why this is a big deal. But to me, it's just the NFL's masterful marketing machine that keeps on driving, and we'll see. I would love to see the Browns make the playoffs before we talk about multiple playoff appearances and Super Bowls. I would love to see the Browns beat the Steelers before we crown them anything in the division. But I understand the hype, and we'll see where it goes. The front of that schedule is very, very difficult and would be very difficult for much more mature and proven teams. So we'll just see how they handle it. But until we see, we don't know.
But the back end, man, that looks like Freaknik.
Well, now it does.
Look it up.
Right now,
I'm being a fan, though.
It looks
I'm just
a certain
saying,
way.
if the and I think you wrote this, if the Bengals are bad and Baltimore is 500, man, that last month, man, they got to handle their business early. They got to handle their business early.
Yes.
That's all I'll say.
Yes. And that's all you can say. I mean, that's what it is. It's a schedule, right? And really when September does get here in October, it really doesn't matter, because every team that has a legitimate gripe about a short week, about somebody off a bye week, about catching somebody wherever, it all evens out on the back end. The Browns and the Steelers have the exact same bye week, folks. You know?
Yes.
When you are in reality and not in full Dorse world, you know that going to Baltimore is like as close to an automatic loss as there is. When you see your sandwich that, the only one in a stretch of 4 games that's not on TV, national TV, that becomes even tougher. You know, that being said, when you look at the back half, Dre, you never know. It is so about who's healthy, whose quarterback is healthy, which young team is on the rise. Yeah, as we sit here right now, do the Bengals look like a 4th-place team? Yes. Do the Dolphins look like a team that's playing for Tua? Yes. But how do we know how any of that's going to shake out? We really don't. So we have to see.
I know. You're right. But if and it's a big if, and every team can say this, Pittsburgh and Cleveland and any other team, if things kind of go the way we think, because that was the other team I forgot to mention, and you know the schedule better than I do, but shit. You got the Dolphins, who basically are playing. They're basically Sashi Brown in it this year, it sounds like.
Yep.
Sounds like they're Sashi-ing it. The Bengals, who knows? The Bengals always start off halfway decent, then realize they're Bengals.
Well, the Bengals have good players, and getting rid of Marvin, they could take a big jump. I mean, let's be honest. That was Jeff Driscoll you beat up on twice last year. It wasn't Andy Dalton. Now, Andy Dalton is not anybody's world beater, but Andy Dalton's a competent NFL quarterback, and the Bengals have a good number of good players. So, do I think the Bengals could win the AFC? No. But, I mean, are we really going to sit here and say that the Bengals are trash? I don't know. I'm not thinking. I don't think that's logical line of thinking.
No, you're legitimate. No, you're right. You're right. Like I said, you just look at that back end after looking at the front end, and I think the NFL basically are saying to the Browns, "You guys want in? Okay, you're in. We're going to see. We're going to find out in 6 weeks. And then we're going to get. And either you're going to continue being the media darling that we've put you up to be, or we're going to put you to the side and put you where you usually are at." That's what I took from this schedule making. Here it is. We're going to blow it out, and we're going to find out all about you, and the whole country is going to see it. You're not going to hide from shit. We're going to know by Halloween, America's going to know if the Browns are legit or not. That's what I felt like the NFL did with the NFL scheduling to me.
Yeah, and I like I said, I mean, I like that the Week 1 Monday Nighter is not that. I think it's important to have that at home. It's an important game. But, guys, when you look at it, it's really in those first 4 to 6 weeks, right? We learned last year what happens when you have a competitive team and you're in the real NFL, and that's that these games get crazy, right, and come down to a few bounces and a few things. So it's just about navigating them. Maybe one goes your way, one doesn't. But after that, you kind of – are you healthy? What are you good at? What are you bad at? How can you mask that? Can you make any moves? Can you make big alterations? I mean, the Browns had truly two different seasons last year, and they found themselves. They didn't get better players in the second half of the year. They found themselves. So that's what it's about. And then if you're playing bad teams, and let's be honest, last year they played some dead teams down the stretch. To their credit, they buried them. After decades of being that dead team, they buried the bodies in front of them, right? So it's easy to get premature and all that. Hey, 2-2 is fine, right? It comes down to, can you beat the Steelers or not? Can you beat the Ravens or not? Until you beat the Steelers, I don't want to hear any of the BS discussion. And the fact is, if you beat the Jets and the Titans to start, which you can, it's great. But it's not a parade, just like it's not over if you're 2-2 at the end of September.
Quick football question that I have to ask that deals with college football. The transferring thing seemed to be cool. It seems to be out of control. Does Ohio State really know completely what it's doing quarterback-wise? Because now that Michael Baldwin was supposedly going to be, the next Michael Vick, but quarterbacks, and you know what? I'm surprised this is taking this long. And I'm glad I'm talking to you about this because it's something I've been thinking about, just haven't talked to anybody about. It's not like it's surprising to me because quarterback is different. Only one guy gets to take the snaps, right?
Correct.
You can keep two 5-star running backs. You can keep 4 5-star receivers because you can make up, like, I can get you on the field. I'll let you return punts, or I'll put you on special teams, or, I'll put some packages together for you. Quarterbacks, that's not the situation. There's only one guy. There's only one Kimusabi, as the Dorse likes to say. But this is kind of freaking me out a little bit, where it's constantly happening now, and this is going to be my Tom Hamilton moment. You call it get off my lawn. I'm calling it my Hammy moment. My Hammy moment is this. What happened? All right, the fucking guy beat you out, back him up and push him. You don't quit and give up because you're not the starting quarterback. I'm getting afraid of our society, man. Between that and losing for draft picks, it's scaring me what you young bucks think is okay in sports and what competition has become.
Well, what did we talk about 2-3 years ago with Kyrie Irving, right? Like, where did he learn loyalty? He didn't, right? Where would he possibly have learned anything other than he was the most important person in the world, right? He wouldn't. Right. I mean, now he might be on the crazy outlier in terms of personality, weirdo, look at me type spectrum, but this is the nature of the sports business, and you're right. With these kids going and them softening the rules as far as transfers and reasoning, it is free agency, and in a way you can't blame them for doing it, Dre. As far as quarterbacks, this is a long time ago what a college well, this is what a long time ago what a college football person told me. He said, look, not that we get every evaluation right, because we certainly don't, and no one does in this game. He said, but, when you're taking linebackers and cornerbacks and you're taking and receivers and you're taking 6, 8, or 10 of them over a 2-year period, he goes, of course Ohio State and Michigan and Notre Dame are going to get the best ones there. He goes, but the reason there's so many MAC quarterbacks that make it good is because they were good enough from the start. It's just there's only one ball, there's only one guy that can play. So when Ohio State doesn't offer them, they go where they can play and be 3-4 year starters. Take a redshirt year and start for 4 years or 3 years. And it goes, and then they're putting up numbers in these pass happy offenses, and they've matured and they've done all this where these guys come in and to these other places. Of course, Ohio State is going to get the 3 and 4 star recruits. They don't always work out. But when only one guy can play quarterback, that guy who really is on the cusp, who if he was another position would be playing special teams at Ohio State, is now the quarterback at Akron, at Central Michigan, at Miami of Ohio, all of that stuff. So, there's more pressure and more spotlight ever than on these kids. I do think at both the high school and the college level, sometimes they transfer just so they can fucking go on Instagram and say I'm transferring. I can't prove that. I can't get angry about it because I'm not a parent. I'm not a coach. I can tell you this is how it goes. Some of my best friends and my brother are college coaches. This is how it is. I hear all the time from our friends that coach in high school that are ADs. This is the culture that they live in. A year ago, a high school basketball coach sent me an Instagram post of a kid from a team in his league transferring. And on his post, it was, I got a family to feed. No, dude, you only scored 9 a game. You're playing high school basketball. You don't got a family to feed. But this is the top down.
Some of these kids do.
Right. Well, that's true, too. But this is the top down sports culture. Right. And this is what they see. So this is how it goes. A wise man once told me, LeBron did not invent this super team shit. It's been going on for years and for decades. But when he does it, it just becomes so much more visible and everybody follows suit.
I know. I said part of that to you. I was like, LeBron didn't start this shit. He just put it on steroids. Yeah. And that's the God honest truth.
No doubt.
I hate seeing on that crawler, man. I mean, look, I'm old man. I'm old man sitting on my couch. Like I said, this is my Hammy moment. We should get that sponsored, by the way. I just don't like sitting on we should. I just don't like sitting on my crawl and just seeing names I barely even know or names I don't even know. Go into the transfer portal. I just don't like it. I just think it's going to send college sports in a bad way. And we all know what's going to happen, whether it's at Ohio State, Penn State, wherever. The starting quarterback's going to get hurt, and some kid who would have had a legitimate chance to play. And how many great stories do we have? All right, I was just talking. We were in Michigan, and I was in Detroit, and I went out to dinner with a friend's dad, and we were talking about Ricky Powers and Robert Smith, and how Ricky Powers was a starting running back at Michigan, was well on his way to becoming everything that we thought he was. And Tyrone Wheatley, and he hurt his ankle, got a bad ankle injury late in the season, and Tyrone Wheatley had to play for him. And we know the rest of the story. Ricky Powers never started another game at Michigan, and Tyrone Wheatley became this all. Now, don't get me wrong, Tyrone Wheatley was a fantastic athlete, was going to get his opportunity anyway, but he got his opportunity early because Ricky Powers hurt his ankle. The Joey Porter situation, and James Harrison. Some of the greatest sports stories we have are when the next guy gets his chance and takes advantage of it and runs with it. And kids don't want to work their ass off and get that anymore. And as a parent, I'm going, what the fuck? Like, you can't let your kids think it's okay just to walk away because they didn't win the job. Somebody's got to tell Johnny, keep your ass there, keep working. And even if you never take one snap, there's something about having some pride, ego, that you didn't run like a little bitch every time somebody said you weren't good enough.
Nah, man, you got to get that exposure, man. You got to play travel ball in 4th grade.
I got to feed my kids.
Listen,
5th grade.
I need to tell this story again, guys. I don't know what podcast it was, but I lost my mind and went on a rant about youth sports and high school sports and misplaced priorities. And since then, God bless you, it's been direct messages on multiple mediums. It's been people coming up to me at the bar. It's been emails. You'll never believe this story, right? And you'll never believe this story, Dre, because it involves me exercising. So a couple of weeks ago, it's nice out, and I'm on the towpath, listening to the podcast, just chugging my fat ass along, right? And passing by, you nod at people. I'm not a totally unfriendly person, so I nod and I look up, and it's this girl that I've known for, going back to high school or college, right? So hey, how are you?
Right.
And she's like, oh hey, what's up? Didn't seem to care that I was listening to my podcast. She wheeled around and just kind of started walking with me, and we're talking, and I hadn't probably seen her in a while. But like I said, we go way back, know a lot of the same people, and blah blah blah. And she says, this is good. You're probably ready to play golf. And I said, how old are your kids now? Do they golf? And basically what she told me is that she had her kids in golf lessons at such and such place, whatever. Her kids are in elementary school. Let's just say 8 and 9 for the. I don't know them.
Right.
But she said that they are no longer in golf lessons because her husband disallows it because it messes with their baseball swing.
Oh.
They are in fucking elementary school.
She married a dumbass.
I said,
tell her that. She married a dumbass.
I said, well, I have got the director of player development here, and I will get in touch with him, and we will give you a call. I said, oh, you have got to be fucking kidding me. Hey, I got 2 minutes, but one more story. Speaking of Dave Sims. So I met him one time. This is when my brother was still in school. He was doing a Browns game or something, and whatever. He didn't really give a shit about me or my brother. But my dad, he'd come around to a couple of Bethany events. And the reason I'm not making a bigger deal out of this is because I don't know they're the same time. This could be 2 different stories. But I specifically remember my dad telling me about being at a fundraiser when my brother played at Bethany and talking to Dave Sims and, just BSing with him and saying how cool it was that he'd heard him and watched him for all these years and he was here. And I don't know if it was the same one or a different one. There was a basketball fundraiser, and the coach told Brody, there is one rule tonight. You are not allowed to grab the microphone after you've been drinking Miller Lights. And let's just say there's a story out there about Brody emceeing one of the Bethany basketball fundraisers.
Oh, boy. I love the Jacksons.
Anyway. Anyway, I'm late for golf lessons. So what else do you got? You got any closing thoughts?
It's going to ruin your baseball swing.
Swear to God. Just picked up my phone for the first time in 20 minutes. Here's a text. Went to Panera with the other white people. 1 bowl of soup, $7.
I'm telling you, that should be a segment on this podcast. Read Zach's last few texts. Panera, you owe us money. You owe us money, people.
Yes. Our listeners are white and they love your product.
Yes. Somebody said they sell terrible food for unbelievable prices. Only white people. Somebody texted that to me the other day. And this is a trick question. And my dad asked me this earlier, so I got to ask you because I know sometimes he jumps on here and listens. Sorry, Dad. Are you paying attention to the NBA playoffs at all?
Yes, but I'm not staying up. I watched the Celtics' crazy comeback the other night. I was not awake for the Clippers comeback. I saw a little bit of last night, and I was not surprised that Kevin Durant got loose. But is my interest level as low as it's been? Yes, but you know what? It's still the first round. When the conference finals come around, I'll be glued. I will.
Right. Me too. No, you said I only asked because my dad asked me today. My dad asked about God. I had to have like a 20-minute talk. You and my dad are like the same guy now. Like he wanted to talk about Durant, go back and forth. And I'm like, Durant is our society. I go listen to the podcast. I already said what I think about it. I'm kind of in the same boat. I think the Eastern Conference semis are going to be great. I think the top 4 teams are going to play each other. I think the West is going to be the same thing. I will say this. This goes off my dad's conversation. Paul George must be more banged up than I thought. I thought OKC was going to win that series. They still might. And I told my dad I think it's going 7. I just don't think that Russell Westbrook is going to roll over. But that's going to be the problem. Russell's going to start having to take every shot and put up quadruple doubles, and 10 of them are going to be turnovers. I just can't. Hey, kudos to Portland without their big going up 2-0. That's the biggest surprise to me so far. But otherwise, it's kind of been chalk for the most part to me.
Russ still hasn't won a playoff series since KD left, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, someone mentioned that.
Hell of a statement.
Woo. Woo.
Hell of a statement, ain't it?
Yeah.
But what is all right, quickly though. Russell, and I think you and I have agreed, Russell is one of the most unbelievable athletes of our time. I think we both agree upon that.
No doubt.
And he's averaged a triple-double for 3 years straight. Like we're gonna have to build a building for him. Like his name's gonna be on the side of something. He's doing something that we've never seen before. But you just said something, and I'm not saying you're wrong. Russell is one of my favorite players to watch, and half the time I cringe because I'm like, he's not a point guard. He's just the greatest athlete on the court with the ball in his hands. And I don't even like talking bad about him because I love watching him. But at times, his basketball, and I don't like using the word intelligence because that's not fair, but his basketball IQ sometimes does make me scratch my head.
Well, that's fair.
And he's phenomenal.
No, that's fair. I think it's more than fair. You know, it's the I'm the guy at, do I have to be the guy today every time, right? I think that's a human nature thing. Yeah, I did see game 1 in that series. I didn't see game 2. I know Paul George had the shoulder. I know his numbers. Paul George had a phenomenal year, right? He was the third guy in a 3-man discussion about MVP. So we'll see. No, listen, I don't have anything planned tonight. I know that shocks many of you, but I will watch that game, no doubt. And we'll see. We'll keep talking hoops. We'll keep talking ball. I got to roll, though.
All right, man. Do your thing. Go to your golf lessons. Make sure it fucks up your baseball swing because we know you know nothing about it. Shout out to Tim Anderson. Konnichiwa, Joe West. Konnichiwa, Unwritten Rules. Let the kids play and quit transferring like pussies.
See you next time on A to Z.